Hello everyone, this is John or Gaffe196. This is me doing the tutorial of Rogue Legacy. This is going to be my first run back. I kind of just deleted all of my old stuff with the exception of two things. So this is the redux of Rogue Legacy. I deleted everything but Binding of Isaac, the original, because I didn't want to redo it. Though I do love the game, don't get me wrong. And additionally, I also kept Westerado because it got some decent people interested in it. Woo. This will be the return of the eye tracker too, so don't you worry about that. I love my eye tracker very much, and I will be using it very heavily. So, for now, this is going to be like a granular tutorial. I'm going to go over things so a 3-year-old could understand it. You may happen upon some helpful insight, but for the most part, I would defer you to my pastebin/Google Doc that you could check out for a little bit more information, a little bit more well organized, and some tier lists that I've come up with. For every ensuing run of Rogue Legacy, I'll make sure I have that applied to it. But for now, I'm just going to go over the controls, the HUD, everything in a very, very microscopic detail. First, I'll let this play. I won't even put this in the playlist until the very end, so you don't have to watch this if you want to just watch me crush the game. I didn't really run through any practice of this game. I played about a year ago on my channel, maybe more. So for the first run, you're incredibly neutered. So I'm going to treat everything like it's going to the first run, and then we'll discuss things as they come into play. So basically there's 5 real things that I can do in any given situation. I can move, I can jump, I can attack, I can downstrike, and I can pause. All of them are valuable in their own way. So let's first start off with movement. You move at one constant velocity. There's no oscillating speed value. It's not Mario. There's no modular way. You can't dash or do anything that'll cause you to move in any different speed at the moment. You also move at about the same speed in the air, so that it's helpful to realize that as well. So you have a lot of aerial mobility, which is good because you spend a lot of the game in the air, in fact. So for movement, we just kind of use it the best we can. Most enemy projectiles will move about as quickly as you do, so if you had the availability, run away from enemy projectiles. Like, say there's something on the screen, say this statue is something, right? Moving towards me. They tend to move at about your same rate, so you can get away, get it to a point where it tilts so you can more easily jump over it. Try to put yourself in good positions, because this game is very much so about positional awareness. So now it's prompting me to jump. I look at it roughly like you have 3 heights of jump, though it's actually a lot more nuanced than that. For me, a tap is also just me hitting the button as reproducibly quickly as possible and for as minimal amount of time, which produces this. So a tap jump for me is a very minor jump. Press jump is about mid-height in this game, and a hold jump is full height. But you can let's say I wanted to get exactly above that painting. I could land exactly on that table, barely land above that table. Table to tap jump. Sometimes you want to get to the ground as quickly as possible, so you shorten your jump. There are certain things you can stand on and certain things you cannot. I can drop down by hitting the down key. Now, in this tutorial, it will prompt me with down and A, but I just use down. And that's available, actually, in the quick drop right there. You could also down attack in the air by hitting the down button. It's much more valuable. I use the D-pad on my regular Xbox 360 controller since I do not use my Elite for this one. So we also have the attack and the down attack. That right there's a mana potion. So there's chicken and there's potions. Each will restore at this juncture 10% of your max HP or max MP. So what I always recommend is if you have max MP, don't. Just always try to be a little bit within your max, but give yourself some room in case you get a potion so it's not wasted. You know, you use things well and efficiently and smart. And your spells, they have varying values of usefulness, but try to use them the best you can. I'm just kind of messing around with the downstrike right now, but you can see that you can pogo on things quite rapidly. And it's also echoing a sentiment that I'll be saying in just a moment, and that sentiment is, of course, clear the entire room. So in a lot of games, once you have some drop or pickup available, it will disappear after X amount of time. In this game, it only disappears once you exit the room. So if you're not exiting the room in a panic, make sure you take the time to pick up everything. It's very, very valuable. Gold is your lifeblood in this game. It's how you level up and purchase equipment. So these bookcases I can stand on top of. So, attacking. Now you think, oh, attacking, you just hit the X button and mash it. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. There's a lot more that goes on into this game than you would think. Your attack is reasonably fast. You can attack through walls. So that swipe is my hitbox. My body is my hurt box. And as long as that swipes out, I'm doing damage with an attack. So I can go through the wall and the ceiling right there with that attack, like so. So you can see it in full speed. So there's a lot of things I'll do. So you can attack in the air, but it's kind of slow. So you can attack and then jump into the attack, and then get another one out if you need it. So what I do is I slide from the X to the A, which will oftentimes allow me to get out multiple attacks in the air. I find it very, very useful. So a lot of time when I jump, if I jump with the intent to attack comes out too. I can also hit them simultaneously for a slightly delayed one. But if I need to do a quick attack, a quick jump, I'll do that. And a long one, I'll hit both at the same time. Hitting both at the same time can actually be quite good. The skitter across from X to A is very, very good if you need to hit a low-hanging enemy and still maintain forward momentum the best you can. You can also, in the air, retreat like so. Which will also go and segue into the next availability, which is moving backwards while attacking. Which might seem very, very useless, but imagine if you attack someone and turn around and then have to turn around again. It's pretty bad. But with this, you can maintain proper momentum. And then, moving forward, you can attack as many times as you want. You need to use your knockback from your attack to corral enemies in a particular area. What I mean by that is your knockback pushes most enemies back, and you can use that to kind of put them in an area. Let's say there's a mage right here, or let's say he's right here. I use my attack to push him up here, so I can avoid his attack by hiding here, because his attack will hit this little outcropping of the ceiling. Just something to keep in mind. You'll see more practical examples of that later. Our first enemy. When we go into the pause screen here, you can see my character is unnamed. This is actually Johannes, the first character, who we might see later. And a lot of our gameplay will actually revolve around his exploits. But that's what the question marks indicate. Johannes is his name. He's a class knight, which doesn't matter now, but he has 100% stats in everything. So there's a lot of different classes in this game, and their stats are adjusted by certain percentages based on their rough playstyle. Magic is how much damage you do. Strength is how much damage you do in one swing. Your down strike does half of your strength, rounded down. So right now, I'm doing 12.5, but it'll do 12 damage instead of the 12.5. It won't round up to 13 either, much to my dismay. Armor is a percentage decrease of damage that you take from enemies. So looking at the Grey Knight there, you can see that he's level 2. It has strength 0. He can't damage me. I can't actually take any damage in this tutorial, as far as I can perceive. And his health is 40, so he's going to take 2 swings, or 3 down strikes. Actually, I'm sorry, 4 down strikes. And I'll show both. But let me show you some things about him first. First off, this enemy in general, that's his only attack. He can also hit you by damaging you. And you see how long your invulnerability lasts. 1, 2, so about 1.5 seconds. So 1, 2, just under 2 seconds. So this attack that he has, his swipe is the same as mine. That's an active hitbox and can harm you. His hitbox is, of course, his body. The hitboxes are pretty reasonable in this game. If it looks like you can hit an enemy, you usually can. And once that sword touches ground, it no longer has a hitbox, so I'm not worried about it. I can walk right into it. It's actually pretty useful for dealing with this enemy in general. There's the 12 there. I take no damage. Going one-on-one against enemies tends to be pretty manageable, even against high-level enemies, as long as the area you're in is right. But going against multiple enemies can be very difficult, no matter what their level is. So we can just drop down like normal. Just showing us how to drop down through things. And I just have to hit the down key, and I highly advise that you do it as well. So this you can't, this is a sphere, you must down attack this to activate a temporary platform. And it'll flash like so. Time it right, just as it's flashing, you can get back on it, as I did the first time, but not the ensuing times. So let's see, once it starts flashing, get them up all the way. Try to give yourself some room with it. It'll also boost you a little bit, so you can use it against enemies. Some chicken for me. So now we'll just enter this door. And we have to come in here, and this is Johannes doing this. And it says I have to attack, but I don't want to attack that way, and I don't want to attack that way, and I don't want to attack that way. I don't have spells, so let's do this. So we enter Rogue Legacy. So this is a procedurally generated game, which means every room is handcrafted, but it's generated through each time you set a new configuration. So every time you die, the next run will be unique, as in you won't play the same rooms the same time. So we'll go ahead and start. Let's go over a few things. The controls, obviously full screen for the eye tracker, max quality. Quick drops on. The controls that I use: Y for special, A for jump, X for attack, as you all saw. Dashes I use for the left and right bumpers. B, and I don't want to reset my controls certainly. The unlock trader button I don't know how to get rid of, but that's the highest level and hardest class to unlock. One of the 2 secret classes. It's actually a very special and very powerful class as well. But I don't want to access him until I properly unlock him. So we won't. So let's go ahead and start. And then I'm going to show you this area. Explain it the best I can. And then I won't do a run this one, but I'll set that up as a new video. But I'll explain this room and the lobby in the next room, once we're inside the castle proper. So first things first, this is an area I call the hub. You can call it the hub, the garden, outside, the manor foyer, whatever you like. You can see manor right there. So out here you will deal with up to 5 NPCs. We have this guy here who's already. This is the training dummy. There's a little glitch I can do right here. If I do the down strike just before I land like that, it'll actually do full damage of my full strength. Once I get used to doing it again, you'll actually see me do it deliberately on a lot of enemies. I also have spells now, which roughshod the same amount of damage. You can also fire attacks simultaneously, but I don't recommend it since most enemies, they have a cooldown. They have invulnerability flames, and flames, lol. Flames just like you do. Hitting just above him there. I'm sorry, I'm just having fun there. Okay, so let's discuss the HUD here. So, in the very, very top left, you have the level. We have level as a character, and then our enemies also have a level. Level indicates how powerful you are. It also indicates, for you, it indicates what upgrades you have. And, you know, your level 30 might be different than my level 30. I may have chosen a different upgrade path. But nonetheless, we're still the same, of approximate power. It's based on the things that you purchase inside the manor. You will click a button, and then it will open up a potentially adjacent cell. Not all cells have adjacency that will unlock something new, but many frequently will. So you'll just do that as you go through, and you'll unlock some serious power behind it. Some things will be better than others as you obtain them as well. I know exactly what I want generally. Mostly I predominate with certain classes, certain abilities. Some things are just like icing on a cake, but they're not super important, so I tend not to get those right away. You know, increasing how much a potion recovers my health by, not that great. Increasing the damage I do, really great. So that's what level does. Level for enemies will indicate the rough level of the reward of the room. So more gold, or possibly items and chests. Chests all have levels, but they're kind of hidden. So below that, HP. Of course, don't get hit. This is a game that definitely doesn't reward you for taking no damage, like, say, Binding of Isaac or Gungeon. But you get to play the game longer. And it's, on this first run, which I'm going to try to do very well on, it's going to be very, very difficult to obtain health once I lose it. So one hit is rough. Below that is MP, which I like to keep usually about 90%. Sometimes a little bit higher, depending. But I usually want to be one potion away from max. Just to make sure I'm using it enough, so I'm not getting extraneous potions and being like, oh, I don't use this. Use your magic. Your physical attack is much more used and very valuable, but use it. Below that is gold, which of course is the most important thing in the game, that allow you to level up, and that will also allow you to purchase goods and services, equipment, runes, and a couple other things. Below that is my currently equipped spell, which I would tend to call it sub-weapon, but it's the dagger. It's one of my least favorite spells, actually, because it doesn't allow you to beat any puzzle fairy chest rooms, which you need some sub-weapons, and sometimes you just get lucky and sometimes you're not. But it can be useful. It's useful for knockback or killing enemies that are dangerous even from afar. You'll see me make, hopefully, useful effect out of it. To the right of that, right there, you see that's a special item that can only be procured from praying at a particular shrine in the game, in the castle, that is. And they have a wide array of effects, some excellent, some okay, and one terrible one. And then there's also the 5 dots in the bottom left corner. That indicates my rune loadout. Runes confer a variety of very useful effects. Double jumping, dashing, health acquisition for killing enemies, vampirism, siphoning, which is the same thing, but for MP, and other things like flight, or increasing your critical damage, or do damage to enemies when they hit you, and so forth. We'll see all of them. Once you collect all 55 of those runes, you'll get health, or not health, but attribute upgrades from the fairy chest. So the faster you can get all 55, the better. I believe there's a lot of blueprints. I think for each slot there's 25, I want to say. Maybe it's just 20. But nonetheless, you want to collect all of those too. And yeah, that's about it for out here. So let's go ahead and discuss what's in here. After which I'll do a run as another video. Yeah, I think that's all I want to discuss out here. So here begins the procedural generation. It is now built. We can no longer exit this room, which I call the lobby, or the castle as a whole. Here's a teleporter. Teleporter can allow us to access pretty much any other teleporter we have. Boss rooms will have teleporters, and portal rooms, as I call them, which are transitory rooms between one area to the next area. Transitory rooms and boss rooms, portal rooms, will have, on the left side, always will contain a statue with chicken, so save it as long as you can. That's HP. And the right side will contain a potion. Save that as long as you can. That's for your mana. So there's unopened chest, fairy chest, open chest, teleporters, and bonus rooms. Now there's 5 types of chests in the game. There's the brown chest, which will rarely offer a blueprint, very rarely. Most often gold. The iron chest, which has a very small chance to give you a stat upgrade, will give you a blueprint, often if it can. Blueprints are the way to increase your equipment once you purchase them for the raw material from the blacksmith. And have a decent chance to give you gold as well. And lastly, there are black chests, which will always try to give you a blueprint, provided that it can give you one. It has a rare chance to give you a stat upgrade as well, or gold, and usually a lot more than normal. You'll always find 2 chests in a boss room. So there's 2 other chests. There's the boss chest, which will give you 3 random stat upgrades. You can only get 4 of those in a run, 1 for each of the main 4 bosses. And then there's also fairy chest, which will give you a rune of random making quality, nothing specified. And boom, you got it. And once you get all 55, you start getting stat upgrades. Bonus rooms comprise a lot of different things, so don't be surprised when they're very underwhelming or overwhelmingly excellent. Sometimes they're mini bosses too. An open chest just means, hey, don't forget about this chest. I tend to write stuff down because I forget about it. So we'll teleport to show you the animation. Now these torches, it's not Castlevania, they don't drop hearts or anything, but these candelabra do drop something. And right here, here's a mana potion, so I can fire this off, and restores 10%. Fire that off, and restores 10%. we get 20 coins so far. I want to get about 7,000 on this ensuing run, but I'll discuss that as I get into it. This is the boss door. The boss door shows the bosses of the game. There are 5. There's also remix bosses for each of these 5. You cannot get the way to access the remix bosses until you get to NG+1, and that's as of the new patch. I like the old way where you could start getting them as early as run 1. Unfortunately not. So, in order, you're going to do Kadir, Alexander the Great, Ponce de Leon, and Herodotus. And then lastly, the last boss. All of these characters have, all of these bosses in historical canonical fiction have found the Fountain of Youth. So that figures predominantly into the narrative of the game. And you can do your research as you wish, but you'll find out more about that as we weather on. So, yeah, they'll turn cyan once you've beaten them in the game, and that's it. You can't fight them for that new game cycle again. If they turn lime green, then you've already beaten the remix version. So there's that, and that's all there is to it. This is the map, which I can show off, which brings up the same thing that the teleporter does, but it'll allow me to know which room I need to go to, etc. This also gives you a rough idea of what you're looking at inside the castle proper. So the castle, I refer to the whole thing as the castle, but the first area is called Castle Hamson. Next up is the Forest of Abkhazia, then the Tower of Maya, and then the Land of Darkness. I'm guessing they just called those names the tower and dungeon respectively, all the way back in maybe alpha or beta. This whole map was probably developed just to help playtesters. Or maybe they were just wondering, people aren't going to understand what they need to do in the game, and they're going to complain about it if they go to the wrong area. So you can tell by each of the little square pegs next to each of the names which one you should go to first, second, third, etc. Also gives you a rough idea where they appear on the map. It's not always accurate. Sometimes Forest is up. I've seen it twice in my many, many hours with this game. But the dungeon's always down, Forest is almost always to the right, and the Maya's almost always above you. Just something to keep in mind. Now, this is how we'll grasp most of the narrative. This is going to be our conduit to how the game progresses. It's a story, but of course there are achievements tied to it. The journal entry. This is the character's canonical father, Johannes. This is Sir Lee, and he's quite surly. So I'm not going to read the journal entry aloud to you, but I'll go at a reasonably slow pace so you can read it at your own speed. I believe there's 24 of these, maybe 27. I always forget. But this will just give us a better glimpse into the narrative, because the game obviously is more mechanics and gameplay focused as opposed to plotline. Not to say it doesn't have a plot, but it's about the same as Binding of Isaac or Gungeon. It's just not much there. I play games for mechanics as opposed to plot. If I want a plot, I'll watch a movie or read a book. Not to say games aren't a useful medium for plot, but it's not as much for me. So that's it. So the next video, we'll go ahead and run into the castle proper. But for now, this has been John at Gaffe 196. It's a small tutorial, but enough to give you a little bit of a taste of the game and what you're to expect to see. So, again, John at Gaffe 196. Please like the video if you like it. Subscribe if you want to see more stuff like it. I do play a lot of games. I want to get really consistent here, but give me some time to do that. And then also leave a comment if you need any help, or you want to berate me, or hey, something else you want to say. And yeah, that's about it. We'll see you next time.